She's the founder of the Cameroon American Council, a leading Washington, D.C. African immigrant advocacy organization whose main mission is to build capacity, relevance, and visibility within the African communities in the United States. President Obama pushed a bill that saw the creation of the Gang of Eight, comprised of 4 Republican senators and 4 Democratic senators who have been battling it out, trying to fix this bill. In fact, today as we speak, President Obama tried to build momentum for an immigration reform bill facing a key Senate procedural vote, saying, and I quote, "The measure was a common sense approach to fix the broken system that has allowed 11 million people to live illegally in America." Lately, Ms. Sylvie Bello, a Cameroonian national, has been one of the forces in rallying up African leaders in response to the immigration bill's steady development. She has been on a 13-state tour where she's met with some of the senators and leaders. We also have, and also joined by Mr. Dominic Tamin, a native of Cameroon as well, who's been an advocate pushing for this same immigration bill from New Jersey in United States. Ms. Bello, Mr. Tamin, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you, FUNGAI.
Thank you.
Okay, so we know that this bill has been one of those outstanding, in fact necessary, and as they put it, common sense things to do to fix it. So when they say the immigration system is broken, we'll start with you, Ms. Bello. What do they mean?
Well, thank you. So good to be in New York. So thanks. Well, the system is broken. As Africans, we know that. As Americans, we know that. And what they mean is there are tons of folks who are Americans, but except just for the papers, you know,
Right.
they live and work in this great country, they love this great country, they're contributing to this great country, but they don't have the right papers to fully contribute. And a lot of those folks happen to be African immigrants, and that's the work the Cameroon American Council does, is to bring together our African community into the immigration movement, which has been led, you know, quite nicely by our Latino brothers and sisters and our other folks. So we do not want to be left out. We want an inclusive, comprehensive immigration reform that includes African immigrants.
Okay, so I know you obviously call yourself Cameroon American Council.
That's right.
So when you talk about inclusive, do you mean that you actually reach out to other people? What have you been doing to reach out from New Jersey, Mr. Tamin?
Hello. Thanks for having us here, Mr. FUNGAI. It's
you.
a great pleasure to have us in your show. It is Sahara TV. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start by understanding how I got involved within the Cameroon American Council.
Right.
I've known Sylvie for a very long time now. You know, went to school, King University. That was 2000. I've always supported her, everything that she did and everything that she's doing. She had spoke to me about immigration, you know, a couple of months ago. Last year we met. I had helped sponsor the Obama Health Care.
That's right.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
I got involved
Healthcare
as it was a passion for me to give back,
Right.
not necessarily to get involved into immigration, because I saw what she was doing. But as I got involved, I started to realize that it was a concern, you know, which was a DV lottery. I'm a math teacher, no public school. I went to Orange High School. So when I heard about the DV lottery, I know it as green card lottery.
Right.
Right, you know, so that's how I found out. When I spoke to my father, I said, I heard the fact that they were eliminating the DV lottery. Is it the same as a green card lottery? He said yes, you know, because I've been here since I was 14, you know, it's been a long time. So I didn't really know a whole lot about when I came here back then. So I was very concerned, you know, and we know that every year we have approximately 55,000 of DV lottery recipients around the world.
Right.
Of those 55,000, 48% are recipients from Africa,
yeah.
which is approximately, the stats, that's about 26,000. But in reality, looking at statistics, it averaged out to be about maybe 18,000 a year, probably around that number.
Yeah, in fact, we have the figures here.
We have the figures.
If you calculate the average, I think it will be around 18, like
18,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's unjust to eliminate the DV lottery because the simple fact that the Africans are here. Most Africans that I know of are here through DV lottery, such as myself. You know,
Right.
I am the recipient of the DV lottery.
And you're contributing as a math teacher.
Yes, I am
right
contributing.
here.
Not only as a math teacher, I'm also a community leader. You know, I've been giving back into the community. Again, I didn't get involved. I've been doing this prior to the DV lottery.
Right.
I got involved because I found it was being eliminated, and I'm saying to myself, we are Africans who came here through DV lottery, and we are very involved in the society. We're taxpayers as well as creating jobs. Why is it that they want to take away the only option that we have to come here, you know, without the visa, the other type of visa, student visa? Because that's the only way, to my knowledge, that us Africans are allowed to come here legally to become permanent residents, you know, and I believe that's fair and unjust, you know. So what we are doing is basically getting awareness, asking for everyone, you know, whether you are black, white, Hispanic, to see that unfair is unfair.
Okay, in fact, because if it's broken, it's broken. It needs to be fixed.
It needs to be fixed.
And it affects everybody.
It affects
so
everybody.
We'll go back to the bill itself.
Good.
We know that it's been having a lot of squabbles, and it passed the Senate Judiciary, right? And then it
Right.
moved. So can you tell us where we are right now?
Sure. So you did mention the Gang of Eight, and your senator right here, Chuck Schumer, is the chair of the immigration reform right here in New York. So we need all our Africans. You know, Africans are
Right.
air braiders, up and down in Harlem, Fulton Street in Brooklyn. You know, we just need all our Africans to come out and to have Chuck Schumer make sure that this bill is inclusive.
He actually promised that by July the 4th. So we want to know what's been happening. In fact, yesterday I hear there was
Right.
some talk
So
about
what he's promising, we need to make sure that he's not just promising something for everybody that would not be inclusive of us, right? For instance, if there's no DV lottery, then then what is it in it for us? And he needs to let us know, right? He did put out during the judiciary. You did mention yes, it went through the 16 senators within the judiciary committee, right? So there we pressured Chuck Schumer and the other judiciary senators, asking them, why are you taking out the diversity visa? Can you put in an amendment to restore the visa? What they did was Chuck Schumer put out an AGOA worker visa type, where there are 10,000 visas. 10,000 visas for about 40 plus countries, and we're going to be sharing that visa type with the Caribbeans.
right.
So they're taking out, 26,000 visas to give us 10,000 visas. Where we're going to be sharing that with 17 or so countries in the Caribbean. That's unfair, you know.
Right.
And the question is, we need to ask ourselves, who is Chuck Schumer talking to? Because we've been around the country, like you said, went to 13 cities, FUNGAI, and the folks around the country have never heard of AGOA. Never heard of AGOA.
You actually gave me some statements that some of these folks have been mentioning.
That's right.
And I'll just read some of them. One of them says, we want African immigrants to be acknowledged and have a seat at the table in creating immigration reform.
That's right.
Our issues are complex and different than any other group. We want the president to make references to African immigrants' challenges and successes in the U.S. And that's just one of them. And then I have here Anze Mofo from Cameroon, it seems. We want immigration reform to allow those who come on a certain type of visa to be able to extend their stay if they want to continue their education or pursue job opportunities. African immigrants bring their ideals, pride, and excellence with them to the United States, and the U.S. benefits from that. I'll just read one more. This is from Leslie. Leslie says, we need immigration programs that encourage integration. We are discriminated against because of our accent, the color of our skin, our different culture. So obviously,
And you're
out
right.
of the 13 states, this is what
That came out of Las Vegas, where we met with Senator Steve Hochford, who is actually the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Immigration Task Force. So around the country, folks are saying they want an inclusive immigration reform that is inclusive of African immigrants. Right now, it really isn't. There are three ways in which Africans predominantly get their papers. One is through asylum. Dominic mentioned the diversity visa. The third one is through family visas. Right now, FUNGAI, what they've done is Chuck Schumer approved this, which is unbelievable because he is right here in New York, right? He approved for the diversity visa to be taken out. Chuck Schumer approved for the siblings to be taken out. So when you take out, when you take out two out of three that Africans come here by, predominantly get their papers through, what is that saying? And in doing this, he never met with any African groups. We have been around the Guinean mosque. We met with Guinean imams. We met with different African churches. Chuck Schumer has not reached out to any of them. We actually rallied outside of his office.
Right.
Calling him out. Like, who are you meeting with? If you're not meeting with the Africans right here in New York City, who are you meeting with? The Africans, up in Rochester, who are you meeting with, Chuck Schumer? So we are hoping that the Africans all around the country, because he is the chair of the immigration subcommittee,
Right.
We're hoping that Africans here in New York will rally with us at the White House next week, right?
Okay.
And we'll also, rally in front of Chuck Schumer's offices, all his Senate offices.
Okay, you talking about the rally in Washington, D.C., and the president is actually traveling to Africa.
Imagine that.
And
When he's
your
at 26.
point is, how can he go and address Africa? What is he going to do there before he talks to the Africans that are already contributing?
Isn't that amazing?
So, do you have any records of how and when, because you're talking of Chuck Schumer, has the president at least addressed this directly to the Africans as well?
That's a great question, FUNGAI. The interesting thing is, as Africans, we are the third highest income earners. We contribute significantly for the president's salary, for
Right.
the administration, for the funding. We contribute significantly. Do you know that the president has had many, many, many discussions about immigration, and without
Sylvie.
any single African in there?
Yes, don't forget about the healthcare industry as well. I think that's interesting to add on. I mean, 20% of the healthcare industry is ran by Africans,
Right.
So that's a statistic that shows that Africans are actually taking care of the people in the United States, and I just wanted to add that as well.
Totally, yes.
And also in the military, I
In the-
believe,
Ye-
a lot
yes.
of Africans
That's
were
right.
serving.
That's
about
right.
90,000.
Right, that's right. We have tons and tons of Africans
So-
who've served. We're currently serving as well. So when the president is going to Africa, right, and he has not met with the Africans in America, do you think he does that with any other country? Do you think the president he was recently in Mexico. Do you think he would go to Mexico without meeting with the Latino leaders right here in the U.S.? And when he was in Mexico, he talked about immigration. So in between talking about, the drug cartels, in between talking about all the other, strong ties between Mexico and America, he did talk about immigration while he's in Africa. FUNGAI, do you think the president will be talking about immigration when he is in Tanzania?
Well, let's hope so.
Well, we were yet to hear. So what is the message you're going to be delivering to the White House next Wednesday?
Right. We are going to be telling the White House that it doesn't make sense for us to pay for, the administrations, through our tax dollars, being, healthcare providers, being, serving in the military, and you don't meet with us. If you don't recognize us, you really think you're going to love, and recognize the Africans in Africa, when the Africans in America are contributing, right? But guess what? When he gets to Africa, we're going to be rallying in Africa as well. We have rallies planned in Senegal, we have rallies planned in Tanzania, and rallies planned in South Africa. So we have
These are the main stops he's making?
Yes, he's going to be going to these 3 countries with his family. So we're going to be there saying, Mr. President, why are you talking about foreign aid in Africa when you cannot, talk about domestic policies with the Africans in America? And guess what? One of the best foreign aid policies is for Africans in America to have their papers, because remittances, right? We
Right.
send out more money back home than all foreign aid combined. So we're saying, Mr. President, if you're going to be in Africa, talk about immigration. If you're going to be in Africa, talk with the Africans in America, right?
Okay, so I guess this is how broken the system is in terms of immigration. We'll just move over to the next question. So we talked about the DV Lotto. We also talked about the scheduled African trip. So from now, where do we expect this bill to land?
Good. So we have opportunities in this bill. It left the Judiciary Committee. Right now, it's in the full Senate. There's a markup process in the Senate right now. From there, it's going to go to the House, the lower chamber. In the House, we're hearing that it may be actually more punitive, that it may actually be more, more conservative in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
We trust that our strong allies, you know, the Congressional Black Caucus, you know, these are 40 some members of Congress who are black, who represent a lot of Africans, because guess what, FUNGAI, the top 10 cities with the highest numbers of Africans happen to be in Congressional Black Caucus districts. New York City, you know, you have, you know, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, you have, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, you know, Newark, New Jersey, where Dominic lives, you have, you know, Congressman Payne, you know, so if you go down, the top 10 cities are CBC member districts. So the CBC have promised, and we're going to hold them to it, that they will, in fact, make sure that any immigration bill that does not have the diversity visa, they will not vote for it. But guess what?
Right.
They need us to stay on them, right? They need us to check up. They need us to come out to Congress. We need, you know, folks to go out up here, you know, to Chuck Schumer's office, go to all the different congressional, you have a strong congressional delegation here, Jose Serrano and all the men, Nidia Velasquez. We need the New Yorkers to go out to their congressmen and women and make sure that they're supporting their diversity visa, right? And from there, we're hoping that the president will sign, you know, a bill hopefully in September. The Cameroon American Council, we're partnering with several groups around the country. You know, you asked a question, you know, we are the Cameroon American Council, why? And do we include? The truth is, yes. You know, one of the reasons why we love our name is because then folks can ask, where is Cameroon? Then we can tell them we are in Africa, and Africa is not a country. So for us, it's a teachable moment, you know, where we can explain that there are 44 countries.
From what I'm listening to you saying, Africans need to get united. Because
Yes, we
obviously, definitely, the Latinos have always sang in a united voice, and that's why it seemed as if this immigration issue was about the Latinos, and only come to 2013 now the Africans and others are starting to show up and making a sound about it, and it's starting to show that it's moving in a certain direction. Why do you think that there's that disunity, that separation between the Africans and also the rest of them? Why is it happening like that? Can you explain, Dominic? That, you know, we're not as united as we should.
We are united.
We are united, right?
Yes, we are united. You're talking about 54 countries of origin, right? You're talking about.
I was at the rally sometime in April,
right,
at the Capitol Hill, and obviously there were slogans said in Latin, in Spanish,
right.
And I had a problem trying to locate where the African communities were, and they were just clustered. And if I did find them, they were obviously Africans from West Africa mostly.
FUNGAI.
So I'm trying to figure out
I
why
see what your question
do
is.
you not reach out to all these others, or is the others not willing to come in and join this fight? Because
the
it's
truth is,
everybody's fight.
We are an underserved community. Right? Like you rightly said, the Latinos have been coming to America for 100 years, right? Mm-hmm. The Asians have been coming to America for 100 years. You cannot compare folks who've been coming here for many, many years that have institutional knowledge, we were only legally able to come to America in 1968. Right? So, and even when we did, a lot of our siblings and our parents, our older siblings and our parents, were mostly looking to go back home. Mm-hmm. It's only recently that Africans were making this our home. We're serving, you know, we're having businesses, we're serving the military. So give us a couple of years, we're going to get there. But just to let you know, we have when we went to the 13 city tour in Atlanta, our host was the largest church largest African church in Atlanta, which was a Liberian church. In Dallas and in Las Vegas, our host was America's largest African church. It's called Redeemed Church of God. They have 600 churches all around the country. You know, when we were in Los Angeles, we partnered with the Nigerians out there as well. So there are tons and tons and tons of partnerships that are happening that cannot unfortunately come up to SaharaTV. You know, that's why we need African media. Right. In addition to reporting what's happening on the continent while they're here in America, to report on what's happening to Africans here in America. So having us on the show is so critical. The fact is, we've partnered with the Kenyan Christian church. You were my guest, right, at the White House when the White House invited the Cameroon American Council for an African and Caribbean forum. You know, you are from Zimbabwe, correct? Right. You know, we had 35, we had a delegation of 35 from all around Africa, from Zimbabwe, Kenya, Nigeria, Liberia, Ghana, you know, so we are working towards that, right? My organization started in 2010. You know, you cannot compare, you know, La Raza that's been going on for years, and the Cameroon American Council going on for 3 years. The fact is, folks like Dominic, who have contributed not just their time and resources. Dominic's business, is a major sponsor for the rally. Dominic has contributed thousands and thousands of dollars to make sure that this message gets out there. We have folks like Dr. Aisha, who's Nigerian, who's contributed to the Cameroon American Council thousands of dollars to make sure that we get the word out, because, so we have folks from all over that are working together. Are these stories being out there? No. Why? Because the African press wants to talk about what's happening back home. They don't want to talk about domestic policy. Whereas, the truth is, we can, those of us in the diaspora can do a lot by actually having our papers, because immigration is a determinant of health. Immigration is a determinant of education. Dominic is the math teacher. I'm sure he can tell you stories about, trying to understand the educational system and parents, not being able to help their kids because, they're not from the American system. So once we have folks who are understanding the immigration process, once we have our papers, once we can engage, we're gonna go places, believe me. So Africans are united as much as we can. We're gonna get there. And that's why I've dedicated my entire life to do this work.
Okay, so now about this rally that's going to be on next week at the White House. What time does it start, and who have you invited, who have you reached out? And obviously, people probably want to know and also take part.
Definitely. So right now we have a petition on change.org. Folks can go to our Facebook page, Cameroon American Council. In the morning, we are going to be having a press conference. That's going to be at 9 a.m. From 11 to 1, we're going to be in front of the White House, letting the president know that, we know he's going to Africa and that he should recognize us here first. September is African Heritage Month. We would like the president to do a proclamation just like he does. This is June, is Caribbean Heritage Month. Hello, our Caribbean folks. Black immigrants unite. Right. And after that, we're going to be having for those who are working, after like around 6 o'clock, we're going to have a forum where we're going to discuss more and more about, where this is going. So folks should check out, our Facebook page, email us info@CameroonAmericanCouncil.org. And we've partnered with many folks just around the country. We have a network of 300,000 people at the Cameroon American Council, all around the country. We've worked with ANPA, we've worked with NIDA, which is Nigerian in Diaspora. We've worked with the Kenyan Christian community. We've worked with tons and tons of the Liberian communities. We've worked with the Ghanaian community, Ethiopians. Oh my gosh, so we're gonna have folks, and you know what? Just as one person can change, like Rosa Parks, it just took this one person who made a stand by sitting down. If we have 5 people, we're gonna go. If we have 100, we're gonna go.
So we've had issues where Africans have been afraid to engage themselves in these kind of campaigns because they fear. It's because of a fear of saying, oh, we're gonna get deported, we're going to get arrested, and my situation or my status is gonna be out there. So I would rather not be involved. And we've had also African immigrants who are already in the country who maybe because of the laws changing have not been able to renew their driver's licenses, have not been able to even get employment for the profession that they're trained to do, and have been obviously undercover. So last week we were invited to the Brooklyn town hall, where the Brooklyn president was there, and also the Speaker of the House, New York Christine Queen, was there. And they all spoke in one voice, expressing their concern that that fear is no longer. People should not be afraid to come up and stand up and campaign for this immigration reform. And there was also Brooklyn Senator Blasio. He talked about trying to find a way where he can get an ID, a national kind of ID, where undocumented immigrants can also have some valid ID, just an ID to say this is who I am, because they're already here and they're already working on the books or off the books, but they're already also here. What do you think about those kind of situations? I know that the bill, after it's been passed and it's been law, is gonna take a while, but in the meantime, do you think there are any measures that are being taken equip these people with some kind of documentation?
The answer to that is yes. President Obama last year signed a deferred action where, these are what you know as dreamers.
Right.
These are folks who came into the country before they were 16.
Mm-hmm.
So now they can have driver's license. They can have a work permit. And yesterday, actually, much to our delight, the president was introduced by an African dreamer, a Nigerian woman. So we know our pressure to the White House is working. We just have to pressure some more. And so that was someone. She's a young lady who had an engineering degree, but just could not work. Like I said, her degree was gathering dust, and because of the Dakar, she was able to not work. So while waiting for the immigration bill, that's one measure. Talking about a national ID, there's states around the country. I live in Washington, D.C. Right now we have a bill in our D.C. government,
Right.
D.C. Council, about driver's license for folks who are undocumented. A lot of states around the country have been doing that already. States like Washington State.
So
states like
people
New
can
Mexico.
actually apply for these driver's licenses?
Right.
What
right.
are the requirements? Because it seems like they've been deliberate laws that kind of like block
Right.
this
So
from happening.
no, you're right. You're right. My sister lives in Oklahoma, and some of the laws there are so restrictive. But in a state like New Mexico, Washington State, Illinois, what they have now is that they have a stamp that would say that this passport. This driver's license cannot be used for travel. So you cannot use it as a government issued ID for the airport.
For the airport.
Yes,
okay.
but you could use it, to go from point A to B. You can use it for identification purposes. You can use it for it's actually meant for driving. Are all of these? See, these are all part of the broken system. You see, these are all bandages. That's why we need, a comprehensive immigration
Okay.
reform that includes African immigrants.
So in closing, I know this is something that's always been on people's minds when people are referred to as undocumented, illegal, alien. What's your thoughts about those kind of terminology?
Undocumented means that, and I know especially for my African community, undocumented means you do not have, or one does not have the papers to be in America legally. A human is not illegal.
But some of
The
them...
situation may be that the situation may be illegal, but the person is not. So we're so happy that major press, major media around the country have pledged to take out the word illegals, to take it as referring to a person, but rather describe illegal as the situation in which one is, but not the person. So one of the reasons why we have to be, as Africans, we have to look into that word is because within the immigration bill, there is a provision called the RPI, which is the the registered provisional immigrant
Right.
card. Right, and what they're saying is that those who are going to qualify for that are going to be folks who who became undocumented, on or before December 31st, 2001. And a lot of Africans are thinking, that's going to include me. Well, the key there is undocumented. So if you were a year, but let's say you had your student visa, right, and you've been going to school, but then you just graduated and now you're out of status. This year, you're not going to qualify for that RPI. That's why we're saying that this immigration reform does not really, it's not very inclusive, because there are tons of Africans that came here legally, but then at some point became
Overstayed.
undocumented.
Yeah.
They overstayed their visas. They came out of status. So what we're saying is that date, that cutoff date, that December 31st, 2011 is very prohibitive for African community. Because let's say you came here before, so yes, you came into the country before 2011, but you became undocumented after 2011.
But always some argue and say, we actually stood online in our home countries at the American Embassy to apply for a visa, and also went through the bureaucracy of having to come through the process of the interview and then paying for that visa, and then also acquiring an air ticket to fly over here, only to land here and to be screened some more before customs and immigration lets you go through. So they argue and say, how illegal, how undocumented can somebody be? So maybe that terminology needs to be softened, don't you think?
We definitely need a terminology
Because
that's inclusive,
it's different from somebody who just crosses the
that
border
just zooms through the border. You're right.
from Mexico into the country with no form of application
That's
of
right.
anything.
That is
You
why
see,
we're going to
so-
need you, FUNGAI, and all your African media folks to really educate our community. You know, we love the fact that you're doing all the work you're doing, but we need to understand domestic policy. We're going to need you to have Chuck Schumer meet with Africans and have an African immigrant forum, because all of these discussions that are going on, if we don't understand it, because a lot of Africans, we don't want this to be like in 1986, where a lot of Africans actually qualified for amnesty, but did not apply because they did not think it applied to them. You know,
Right.
when we pay visas, we're contributing into the American system, because those visas come back they come back as funds, right? So once we've like you said, once we've paid those funds, we've actually been screened and we've gone through all that process.
Right.
We need some kind
You're
of
in
credit for
record
that.
somehow.
Right. So we need some kind of credit for that. The truth is, as we're moving forward, we're making a lot of noise. We have folks like Dominic, who's contributing his time, going out, to different places, spending his weekends, reaching out to folks. We just need more Dominics. We just need more folks who are contributing, more folks who are sponsoring, the rallies, more folks who are reaching out and creating more advocates. So that we can reach out to the members of Congress, especially the president, because the president has a platform. He took on the Dreamers as his personal pet project and, went ahead and did an executive order when Congress will not pass it. So we're saying, Mr. President, if you can do that for the Dreamers, right, you can do that for the diversity visa. You can, stand on your soapbox. You can speak out. You can be vocal. You're going to be in Africa. We want the folks in Africa to tell the president, in addition to the monies to dig latrines, in addition to the monies to for HIV and AIDS, in addition to the funds you're giving us for military aid and all of that, right? Could you give the Africans who are already in America their papers? Could you see to, because we're the most educated Americans. When the president is talking about he wants America to outperform and out-innovate the rest of the world, he is talking about African immigrants. We make America look good on paper. We do. Dominic said we take care of America. We're also the most educated. 40% of us have a bachelor's degree.
Well, you also take care of Africa by sending so much money there
Exactly.
every day. Anyway, thank you very much. That's all we had time for, but we appreciate the work obviously you're doing and also the imparting the knowledge that you're sharing. And we hope that this bill is going to come out in favor of the Africans.
That's right.
Sylvie Bello from the Cameroon American Council and also Dominic Tamin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
for having
you.
us.
All right, that'll be all.
Yep.